Hello and welcome to So Crafty. Today I want to show you how to make these easy fabric face masks with ties. If you like this video and it helps you, please give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Let's go ahead and get started, and I will start with the supplies that you need. I've already got my pieces cut out. I have my 8 by 14 inch piece for my mask, and I've got the strips that are with the fabric, 44 inches long and 1.5 inches wide. And if you have directional fabric, you want to make sure that you are going the correct way. You're going to fold it with right sides together, and you're going to just do one stitch on the side, the long side, and you're just going to do a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance right there. I've got my piece folded to where it measures 8 inches by 7 inches, and now I'm just going to sew the 8-inch side closed with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. That's all done, and next we're going to take it to the ironing board. Now we're going to flip it right side out, and I'm going to push my hand up against the seam that I just sewed to kind of push it out, and we're going to iron it down and make it all nice and flat. Now we want to make the pleats. So I'm going to go down about 1 inch from the top, and I'm going to use my thumbs and pinch up about 1/2 of an inch of it to make the first pleat, and fold it over and then iron that down. And then I'm going to take my wonder clips and clip it into place just to kind of hold that pleat. And then you're going to do that one more time. Go down about 1 inch and pick up about 1/2 of an inch or so and pull that part up, and then iron that down as well. And that makes your pleats. I'm going to put a wonder clip here to hold them in place. Now you've got it all pleated, and you're going to take it to the sewing machine, and you're going to sew 1/4 of an inch on each side. Now we've got our pleats all ready, and we're going to sew 1/4 of an inch seam allowance on each side to hold the pleats in place. And as you do that, you want to make sure that you hold them so they don't move. Now, if you use pins, you can use pins instead of wonder clips, and that will help. You don't necessarily need to take those out as long as you don't sew over them. So I got that all done, and now I've got them sewn up and my pleats are in place, and now I'm just going to trim the edge to make it a little bit nice and clean. And I'm going to try to cut as close to the seam as I can. Probably about leaving about 1/8 of an inch or a little more. And after we do that, it's time to get our binding ready. So we're going to go back to the ironing board. Okay, now we're ready to make the binding for the ties, and I'm just going to iron the edges. You're just going to fold the edge over of each strip on each side about 1/2 of an inch, and you're just going to fold that down and iron it down to make sure you don't have any raw edges on the ends. Now I'm going to use my wonder clips, but you can use pins. One thing about wonder clips is it does make it heavy when you start to sew it. But anyway, the first thing you're going to do is fold the strip in half and iron it all the way down. That way you're going to make a crease. And remember, these ties are about 44 inches long. They're with the fabric, so they need to be pretty long to tie. Now you're going to take one side on the one side of the crease, and you're going to fold it over, and you're going to iron it all the way down. So you're taking the edge of the strip that you just ironed in half, and you're folding the edge over to the crease that you just ironed. And then you're going to do that all the way to the end. And when you get through with that, you will do that on you'll do the same thing with the other side. You're just taking the edge and you're folding it, meeting the edges in the middle where the crease is, all the way down. Now when you get through with that, you're going to fold it over once more, and you're going to iron that down. This is going to make your ties, and it's going to make it about 1/4 of an inch wide, maybe a little more, but you do want it thin. And so now I'm going to take my Wonder Clip to hold the edge in place. You can use a pin here if you like. But you're going to just fold it over and then iron it over all the way down, all the way to the end. And this also encloses the raw edges. If you have one of those binding strip makers, that might be really good for this. I don't have one. I've never used it. I don't know if they work well or not. I have seen them used, and they look like they work pretty well, but I think I was going to try to get me one for this, because it'll probably make it go a lot faster. Okay, so now I'm going to put a Wonder Clip on that end, and then I'm just going to kind of close it and Wonder Clip it just to kind of hold the fold so it doesn't come open when I'm moving around. Now this time I decided to use a pin. That way there won't be so much weight on it. Those Wonder Clips, I have the big ones, and those are a little bit big. Those are a little bit heavier. They do make them in the mini ones, I think, and so those are a lot smaller and lighter weight, and that would work better for this. But I don't have the mini ones. I just have the larger ones. But I'm folding it down again and just pinning it in place. Now we're ready to attach the binding or the tie to the mask, and to do that you're going to find the center. So I'm just folding mine in half and matching up my ends to find the center. And I'm going to mark it with a pin. So I'll know where it is. And then you're going to take the short edge of your mask and you're going to open up the binding. And I'm going to take my pen out so I can open it up. And then you're just going to find the center of the small side of the mask, and you're just going to put it inside the binding and fold it over. Make sure each edge there's still a raw edge. And then it should be the same on the top and the bottom, because when you sew it, you don't want to miss any of it on the bottom. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the other tie. And I'm going to fold it and find the center. Put a pin in place so I'll know, and then put the edge of the mask inside. Try to line it up with the center where my pin was with the center of the mask. And then you're just going to either pin or clip that in place. I find that the clips do work better for this part. Then we're going to take it to the sewing machine and sew it all up. Now we're almost done. We're just going to sew the binding, and you just start at one end and back stitch, and then you're going to sew all the way down to the other end and back stitch at the other end. Now as you're sewing, if you want to go ahead and pin the whole thing, you can. Just for a time saver, I don't. But as you're sewing, if you haven't pinned it all the way closed, you want to make sure that you hold it closed as you're sewing. And then I'm sewing probably an 1/8 inch from the edge. You want to make sure when you sew over the mask, when you sew the tie to the mask, that you're attaching the bottom to, you're sewing the bottom to, so that's like 3 layers. And if you sew about an eighth of an inch from the side, you should be able to do that. If you have an even fold, then all the way down, then you should have no problem with sewing it onto the mask and catching the top and the bottom of the tie. So now we're just going to sew all the way down to the end of the tie. And I have the wonder clip holding the end of this tie, and so it makes it kind of heavy, but that also helps it from staying folded. Now I'm at the end, and I'm just going to back stitch right here just to kind of secure it. And now we want to do the same thing on the other side. Again, we're going to start at the end and back stitch to secure it, and then we're going to sew all the way down to the end of this tie. Now I've got it all finished sewn, and I'm just cutting my loose threads now on each tie. And it is all done and ready to try out. So let's try it out and see how it looks. Now you can put it however you want. So you just put one in and tie it behind your head. I tie it in a bow. It's big enough. Guys may not want to do that, but it's big enough to do that. And then you just tie the bottom, and that's all there is to it. It's all done. I hope you liked this video and it helped you. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, comment, or email me, flemingconnieg@gmail.com. And I hope everyone stays safe out there. Now, if you notice the